Hey, welcome. I'm so glad to have you guys here with me on another edition of Beyond the Noise, where we try to get past those overarching surface statements and we get into the real conversation so we could possibly be a benefit to ourselves and the people around us. If I hadn't told you guys, I am your host, Greg Walls, and I have with me, as I always do, the round-faced Mexican girl, Graciela Dagnino. Grace, so what's going on today?
Not a lot. I'm gonna move into a new apartment.
Right on. Where at?
In Euless.
Oh, Lord Jesus. So you're going to be in the new apartment in Euless. You're going to be sliding across the floor like...
Risky Business?
Yeah, my man in Risky Business. I don't
Yeah.
see why not. I do it every time I go to a new spot. I do it in stores, so it don't even matter to me. It is so fun today, and I'm so excited to have the guest that I have today. Today's guest is a student at the University of Texas in Arlington. She is a nursing major. She has a double minor in Spanish and leadership. Now, I met this young lady 2 years ago, and her vibrance and her aggression and that big 12-year-old looking smile she has and her radiance and brilliance, you guys will be able to see shine through for about an hour. But she's extremely impressive. She's very mature, and she asks a lot of questions that I think some of us as adults are afraid to answer. So I have with me today, and shout her out, everybody that is watching the show today, shout her out, because today is young Ashley's 20th birthday. I have on the show with me Ashley Munoz. Happy birthday, young lady.
Thank you.
So good to see you. Great. So we have two questions for the crowd today. What are those questions? And they are both revolving around young Ashley. What are those questions, Grace?
The first one is, what was important to you at 20? And then the second one is, what advice did you get at 20 that you still use today? All
right, so we're going to get into that in a little bit, but I understand you graduated from Haltom High School, and from my understanding, you were one of the first recipients of the Performance Experience Academic Scholarship. We gave a little bit of money out. Shout out to everybody who helped us with that. Shout out to everybody who contributed to the Homeroom Project and made it possible for three young future stars get a chance to go to school and start living out their dreams. So Ashley, how is school going?
How is school going?
Amidst
it's going.
all of this stuff. So
it's
talk
going.
to us about it.
It's definitely going. This is technically my academic junior year.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it just feels like an extension of my sophomore year.
Why is that?
Because I don't feel like sophomore year really ended for me.
Yeah.
Because first COVID happened, but honestly because there was a lot of change that came with how my year plan and graduation and all of the future stuff was going to happen. And I will definitely get into that later, but not everything happens the way that
you
originally planned it. Yeah.
I know that's right. Well, what year did you graduate from high school?
I graduated class of 2018.
So you got out of school a couple of years ago, super excited about going right up the road.
Yes.
And extending your career, going into nursing. You want to be of service and help people.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about that transition, from your specific transition, especially from right up the road, being around this area, from being in your mom's home, following rules, living by the beat of the drum that leads the band, to you going out and beginning a little bit of what we would call, when we go to college, on our own.
Right.
How was that transition?
So moving out was fun.
Is that right?
Very fun. I moved into a college dorm, and I moved in with my best friend from high school.
Right on.
And so it worked out. It was perfect. We were both nursing majors. We were both going to go to UTA. Actually, she took a little bit more convincing than I did, but she came around, and for her it was the right decision. For me, UTA, as soon as I got my second tour, and I saw that smart hospital, I knew that was where I wanted to be, because not many universities have that luxury. Also, the close to home. So yes, I was moving out. Yes, I was going to gain a lot of freedom with that. But
when you say freedom, we're going to stay here and then we'll continue, do you mean freedom, you get to do what you want to do, or independence in the fact that you understand what you're trying to do? Like, what was your feeling? Was it a feeling of freedom? Yeah, I finally get to go do my thing. I ain't got to worry about curfew and this. Or independence?
Independence. Freedom to explore my rules. Freedom to explore my bedtime. Freedom to explore what I eat. What people I hang out with.
Right on.
Right, and so whether or not I do play music in the shower, you know, like small things like that.
Did you feel like you were ready for that, or did some of that exploration make you nervous?
I will absolutely say that I felt ready, but because at home I was blessed enough with a mom that always gave me enough space. It was never like it wasn't that I was at home, I was in high school, I had no space. It was all rules, and then coming to college, I completely, chicken with its head cut off, like too much freedom, can't handle it. There was definitely a lot of control growing up in my household. And so when I moved in, I still applied a lot of those rules that I learned growing up to myself. And like, on certain days we wash clothes, on certain days we go out to eat, on certain days we don't go out to eat, because we gotta save that money and we're paying for a meal plan.
There it is.
And so like, it was a lot of like my mom's voice in the back of my head.
So it was ingrained.
It was definitely ingrained. But it wasn't in my opinion, it was not something that was just too much for me to handle.
Were you afraid?
Of moving out? No, because I was doing it with my best friend.
Okay.
I think if that would have been different, I probably would have.
So if it would have been a different person?
Yeah,
or if
someone I didn't know, someone I'm just like, I don't know how you live, I don't know if I can coexist with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So now you're going into a transition, like you said, out of, one's control, which we all need. We all need a person that's going to force us in a direction, point us in a direction, keep us in a direction. But then you didn't stray from that direction, teach a child the way he should go. And when he gets older, he will not depart from it. But that doesn't necessarily mean we have to agree with it. Okay, I'm right here with Miss Ashley Munoz, and then we have Grace. So, anybody answer that question that we have online?
Oh, wait, yeah. Hold on. Wait. No, not yet.
Okay. All right.
Someone commented, that's why.
Gotcha. So, with that, you don't have to necessarily agree with it.
Right.
Okay. What things did you discover that you don't, and don't get yourself in trouble, that you didn't agree with, as far as not necessarily in the home, but the way things were explained to you, or the rules were shown to you, or that was with you, but you never agreed with it, and now you had a chance to decide if it actually worked or didn't work for you? What lessons, what attitude?
One of the most simplest things was the way I dress. The way I dressed growing up in my household, being a girl, being the only girl to my mother, was very much of, when we go out, even if it's just a grocery store, we look a certain way. And if she would have seen me one of those days when I woke up 5 minutes before my class, she would be like, "You just woke. That's the clothes you were wearing to sleep in. What are you thinking going into class?" And that
I felt that.
And so it was definitely. That was definitely one of the biggest ones that, at the same time, I heard her voice like, you know what, we have to look good. We have to look presentable. That's the word. Presentable.
Presentable.
Always use that word. You never know who you're going to cross path with. Like, what if you meet someone who can, give you a future job? What if you meet someone who, like, future boyfriend?
Yeah, they need to.
Even though at the same time she would always tell me, like, stray away from the guys because I don't need you to be in a relationship right now. She didn't need me to be in a relationship.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So you get a chance to explore.
Be in a relationship.
Yeah, you get a chance to be in a relationship. What things made sense for you to go and try and find out what makes sense for you, or the things that made you happy versus the things you did because it made others see you a certain way?
Right. So to be able to apply that into this idea of relationships,
Mm-hmm.
I would always go into a relationship thinking, I like this person is adding to my happiness, is adding to my growth as a person. Like, I'm learning someone from this other, I'm learning something from this other
You was thinking about
person.
that at 18 and 19? I just thought
Yes.
about how cute the girl was and if we could have a conversation without killing each other.
That's the conversation. And so, like, I have to be able to be entertained, you know? So are you going to do everything I ask you to do? Is it always going to be my decision on where we go, what we eat, what we do? Because I don't like that. That's too mentally draining for me. And so going into a relationship, it was definitely like those things, like, what skills do you have? What can you teach me? Like, when we have when we touch a hot topic, something that you don't like talking about. In my last relationship, hottest topic was religion. We couldn't see eye to eye.
Right. You couldn't see eye to eye in the belief system or what you guys
just
actually
talking about
believe.
And just talking
So you
about
couldn't
it.
even have a conversation.
We couldn't
about
even,
it.
he had such a big fear in getting into that conversation because he saw religion as just the great divider. And I wanted to explore that. Like, why do you think that? And it was very tough. And so at the same time, going back to my mother and like thinking of her, it was very much of when going into relationships, it was like, is this someone my mom's going to like? Right? And also, when going into difficult conversations like that with my significant other or whatever, it would be, you can't have this conversation, but I want you to have this conversation. And so now I'm upset. And that's very much something, that's a trait that I see in my mother that I dislike. And then I was carrying it. Like, it was her being in me, and I don't like that about me.
So I'm going to ask this because I know exactly what you're talking about, and I never had that problem. And this is for all the women in the room. When you get out of the house, when you go from girl to young lady, do you feel like that a lot of the decisions you make early on at you guys' age is attached to the thought of the person that was making that decision for, like, they can be 6,000 miles away and you know what you're doing is not wrong, but you have that attachment to that decision based on what was. How does that work? What does that mean, Grace? So you know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm answering back. I'm sorry. What was that?
I'm asking, and Miss P too, and then Ashley, help me understand that. Like, a lot of decisions you make when it comes to an independent decision with involvement with others, be it a
you
job.
You can't make it your own because you're still thinking about what other people will advise you to make that.
But when you say other people, is it a community of people? Is it other things you've heard, or is it the same voice multiple times, or the same couple of voices?
For me, it's people that I trust. Like, when it comes to making a decision, I'll hear, like she said, like my mom or my sisters, or sometimes draw on negative experience as far as like what I've seen done and what I don't want as a result of. It's like a combination of those things. It comes, so kind of like what you said, the title holds importance to me when it comes to making decisions and what I think people I care about would do, because I'm so driven to people please, and I'm trying to unteach myself that.
Stay right there. Wow.
Yeah, and so me, it was very much, it was heavy on my mom because she, like, I gave her, well, I didn't give her, she birthed me. And so most of my life, she was the major influence in my life. And so when making decisions, I only go back to what influenced me thus far.
So you guys are making an independent decision with a collective thought.
Right. That's exactly right.
And that thought basically is the influence of the decision, not the information for the decision.
I think the commonality we both have, though, is that we both are Hispanic, and because like
it does
girls, like girls in our culture are designed to not think of themselves first. We're taught not to.
What if it feels wrong? What if it feels wrong? Like, what if you know in your heart what you're doing it because it's a collective thought, but you know, like, this ain't the way. Like,
it's masked.
But you do it anyway.
It's because it's masked behind it's not a, like, it sounds dumb, but when people say it's bigger than you, you know? It's almost like holding tradition or not disappointing. It's bigger than the selfishness that you're feeling to go against that negative gut feeling. You know what I mean? It's like that gut feeling is almost like, oh, I know that's not what I want, but it's selfish of me to do the opposite. You know what does that make sense?
Yes, but
that's what it feels like.
I know, but
that's what it feels like.
Though?
You know what? This conversation totally just made me think of Mulan.
Right.
Okay.
Bringing dishonor to her family.
Literally,
right? But
literally.
she's still, she was not about to let her dad go fight in the war, so she did what she knew was going to bring dishonor to her family. She did it anyway. She helped out her dad. At the same time, they were still slightly disappointed until, he came back. She came back with
she came out
general.
slaying everybody.
So she had to prove that her answer was right in order.
Right,
exactly.
But it was
still
don't be wrong though. Don't let yourself be wrong either.
But why not? Are you worried about the clap back, or is it worth it?
Because the clapback is, they don't miss, our people do not miss the opportunity to tell you should have not done it that way.
But is it worth it?
I would like to say I'm not afraid of that clapback because
I would like to,
if
but
I make
I know
a
I am.
decision for myself, right? Even though it is with this collective thought, influencing my decision, I would like to think that it was my decision. I reap its consequences. So I'm gonna be face to face with whatever's coming to me.
Does that at 20 years old and Gracie at 26 years old, does that keep you guys from doing the thing that internally you should be pushing towards doing?
It has, but I'm learning to not to. It's taken me a little bit longer.
Okay.
It did.
Okay.
And for me, I think it comes from a recent change in my life that is probably one of the biggest ones I've made thus far in my life.
Because see, I got people my age listening to you guys, and I know the first thought, because it would be my first thought is, what they talking about? They don't know what they talking about. They still wet behind the ears. She ain't had a relationship. What she know about a relationship? She ain't been in no relationship that she had this terrible dude and these 3 kids.
I've heard that before.
But, I mean, you guys, it's not fair. And I know I've been unfair, and I mean, that's just part of it. However, what have you learned? Let me ask a better question. Let me. Are we teaching you anything, or are we just telling you guys stuff?
Well,
both.
And on that subject of relationships, I've had many conversations with people older than me in regards to loving. This idea of love. Can you love someone? And it's very much of a mix of love people for what they are, not who they are. Right, and at the same time, it's reverse. No, you should only love for who they are, not what they are.
So there's no real understanding.
There's no real
because they don't really understand.
And it also ties into age. Can you fall in love at the age of 7? Can you fall in love at the age of 19? Can you fall in love at the age of 34? Can you fall in love at the age of 50? I believe you can, but I can't love someone at the age of 15.
Wow.
That's not real love, apparently.
Because you don't know enough, basically, is what they're telling you, and your experiences aren't telling you. But your feelings are telling you exactly how you feel.
Yeah, and so it makes me, growing up, it made me feel like loving someone was textbook. There was a way to do it.
Now we're getting somewhere. Now people my age are understanding the disconnect. Right? So do you feel like sometimes, and this is for both of y'all,
That's so funny you started it with that.
Right. That's why I did it. Do you feel like sometimes people are trying to direct your life for safety from the things that they...
Yes.
Absolutely.
Is that helpful?
No.
Why not?
I have one example.
Give it.
I mean, yes and no. It also depends on the severity of what we're talking about. Like, when parents tell you not to go to a party or not to go out and do these X things, it's for your safety.
Absolutely.
So, yes, on that spectrum. But when it comes to, and I guess this might just be personal, when it comes to time to go to school, and I know lots of Hispanic girls or people in general that get steered away from,
they try to scare you away from
going away somewhere or being away from your family or being by yourself or being on your own. I don't want something to happen to you. I'm 26 and my mom still calls me every day to make sure that I get home. Super grateful for it.
Absolutely.
But it's almost like I don't know, like you expect the worst is going to happen to me because I'm not prepared for the worst.
What have you done to eliminate that fear? Because see, that's the disconnect. A lot of times we hear the lesson, we don't want to learn it because you feel like people talking to you a certain way, or you feel like people should understand that you're tired, or you feel like people should just let you go through it. I think that you guys are right, because I say all the time, especially to our athletes, like, you your mama's baby. You ain't the world's baby. Mm-hmm. So your mama can only protect you from the things she can protect you from, but the world is waiting on you, you know. So how do you prepare yourself for the world when you have so many different things going on in your head that you haven't had a chance to actually explore or question or ask why? Why don't you believe that? Why do you feel that way? Where is this coming from? Has anybody ever told you why?
It comes from that exactly, the lack of asking why.
But when you do ask why, are you getting answers? Or are the answers revolving around the feelings of the person directing your life?
Okay, Gracie, how many times have you heard "es por tu bien"?
Yes.
It's
okay, first of all, y'all on the show, yo. It's for your own good. Type that, because I'm gonna start using that. In Spanish, it's for your own good. Hit us with it, Grace. So type that in there. It's for your own good. That's the line for the day. But what's for your own good? Are you being told things or taught lessons? That's what I'm asking you.
Quite too often told.
Okay. So
it's almost like because it said so. Because I'm your mom.
I know how that
That's
goes.
kind of like what it means.
The authority. Yeah, it's like this, I hold some authority over you.
Right.
You ain't got no choice.
I hold more years of life on this earth over you.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom still doesn't trust me driving on my own sometimes. You know, because she's like, you don't have enough driving experience.
But why should she?
She fears the possibilities.
Why should she trust you?
Trust me driving?
Why should she trust you driving? This for all you young people out there who all want, you guys want something. When people give you the mic, you ain't even,
right.
Your answer can be a question.
Look, I got my driver's license the same way she did at a different age. You know, because she was an immigrant to this country, and so when she got like her stuff set to be able to get a driver's license in the States, she got it, I don't know how old she was, and I got my driver's permit at the age of 16 or 15, and you know, learning to drive. But the concept hasn't changed.
But have you given her a reason to trust you?
I have not given her a reason to not trust me.
That means you've never given her a reason to trust you.
Well, I don't know how.
Well, be a good driver.
Well,
See,
okay,
the doing is everything.
Okay.
And the conundrum is we don't let you guys do.
And that's where I go, where I have not given her a reason to not trust me, because I have been a good driver.
Mm-hmm.
When have I done something in her perspective that is not good driving?
That's something you guys got to talk about.
Right, and so it comes down to the fact that it's subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Subjective to my mother.
There you go. Because you guys still listen. The voice in your head is still the authority, even though you're the adult.
Right.
Yeah.
So our job is to teach you guys how to make a mistake that doesn't destroy the opportunity.
Right.
I get it. But are you asking for guidance? Are you asking for input? Or are you, when people are telling you things, are you just hearing them tell you, or are you listening to the info in between the noise and the yelling? And then I'll ask Gracie the same question next.
I definitely have had experiences where someone said something and my immediate thought is, what about you made you say that? In regards to, I guess, even academically, you know, in high school, AP and dual credit was an option.
Yep.
I was told I had the grades, I had the discipline, whatever, I could do the AP route. AP looks better in college applications. AP this, AP that, boost in AP. All of my teachers.
And dual credit was the way to go.
Dual credit was the way for me to go.
You'd probably be about to graduate if you'd had dual credit.
Yes.
So, again, you listen to, you guys get, I'm starting to understand. So you guys pay more attention to the informant than the information. Because your parents said it, that's what it is. Or because the counselor said it, that's what it is.
But it's also the lack of understanding.
Okay.
Because AP looked great in my eyes at the age of 17, at the age of 16. AP looked like the way to go. It wasn't until I graduated and entered college and saw all of my freshman friends actually considered sophomores or juniors because of the dual credit that they took that I realized, what did I do wrong?
So I'm going to ask you this question, Grace. That's a great question. You didn't do anything wrong, which leads me to the next one. What, how do I say this? You guys don't really know what to ask next because you haven't had the chance to have a comparable. So you didn't know to ask, is there anything other than AP? Or why is AP better than dual credit? Or the main question that people hate, how do you know?
Right.
How do you know? Have you ever asked an adult, how do you know? Miss P, how long was it in your head where that other voice was leading your decision making?
You know what? I think that's also dependent on the strong voice of your mother.
No,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Mine changed when my mom's voice wasn't as strong.
When was it?
That was actually in my late 30s.
Okay, ladies, that's why I asked. I want you guys to understand those things are ingrained. And you got to understand your parents are doing that because they do love you. Let me say it, because they do love you. However, it's hard to let you experience things that they know the probability may not work in your favor because you don't know enough. The disconnect is we're not teaching you enough to know enough because we don't know enough. I'm just not afraid to say that because I've had multiple parents tell me, you don't understand because you don't have kids. No, I do understand because I don't have kids because it's hard. It's hard for them to say the things to you that I can say. It's hard for them to say, hey, you want to make this amount of money, you need to go do this, this, and this, and this. So they're going to say, well, what about this? How you going to do this? How do we do this? I can't help you with this. I'm 41, and if I call my mom and needed some help, she's going to do everything in her power to help me. And then she's going to fuss at me. And then she's going to tell me exactly how I'm supposed to receive her help. Because that's what moms do. But we're not talking about moms. We're talking about you. Okay? What are you afraid of now?
I'm afraid of...
Pause that question. Let's go backwards. Have you explored what you believe or what you've been told to believe or what you grew up believing? And have you explored that, and is there any doubt in any of those things? And I mean in any area, talking about what school actually means and what it's for and how it makes you successful, or why you do go to church every Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, or why you actually feel like you need to present yourself a certain way, or what a degree, like, have you explored that, the things that have been instilled with you and things you may have been curious about, have you questioned them? Because I questioned my beliefs and my religion at 26.
I feel like questioning is a skill that is suppressed for a long time.
Yeah.
Like in school, teachers want you to ask questions, but they only want you to ask certain questions.
And they only want you to answer it correctly. They don't want you to be inquisitive. That's not fair. We do want you to be inquisitive. It's just so difficult in that setting.
Even in geometry, if I didn't get the correct answer the way the teacher had taught me to get the correct answer, it was so wrong.
So my question is,
if you don't show your work,
so
you're
afraid of
being
wrong.
I hate
because
being wrong.
You've never had the opportunity to know that wrong is okay.
Right.
Got it. So you guys never had the opportunity to screw it up. If you screwed it up, it was the end of the world. So it was only one way.
It was instantly negative.
Really?
Instantly.
So
I used to hide papers from my mom that were not good.
What's
Literally.
not good? I'm coming to you, Miss P.
Anything less than an A was not good.
But that's not good.
But not that she didn't preset that in my head. Like, it was like, I knew that this was really good. Anything less than really good was not good.
And
So it was
it's kind of-
unacceptable to bring.
It's
So there
kind of
was
like
no
I
So it
wanted
just
scale.
to.
it didn't want it to. I didn't want it to exist.
I wanted my mother to see me a certain way, and so I would do the same thing. I wanted my mom to think highly of me.
So you had no room for error because
No.
you created a wall that didn't allow you to make a mistake because you were always taught. Now, that's not fair.
But it's also because how I
You
would see
believed.
her.
Yeah.
How I would see her react to other people's mistakes.
And all my moms listening to this. Miss P, you've been over there bouncing out the seat. What you got?
You know, as I listen to them, I'm thinking back, what made me stop hearing my mom's voice so loud? And what made her yell so loud? And a lot of that was because I didn't want her disappointment. But a lot of that, the voice was suppressed once I started making my mistakes. And then I realized, you know what?
I'm not going to die.
It's my choice.
You know what? You guys have blessed me because I finally realized what, shout out to Jasmine Cochran, what she used to say to me 15 years ago. She did not like the idea of certain people being disappointed about certain things. She would be like, why are you disappointed? I didn't appoint you. Like, you weren't appointed to this. This is my situation. I didn't appoint you to this. There's no expectation from you. I get it now. You guys are living as adults, living in a shadow of a disappointment that your parents, and just to be fair, may not even know exist. Because I know it's some terrible parents out there. I've yet to personally meet a parent that didn't want what they thought was best for their kid, regardless of the methods. I've seen some terrible methods, but the intent was the best for their kid. So the question is, does what you see as what your parents see as best for you match what you see as best for you?
No.
And
Okay.
that's literally where I was about to tell you.
Okay.
What is best?
What is best for you?
What makes you think that this is best for me? What about me makes you think that this is best for me? And why is it not okay for me to think what is best for me is best for me?
I'm
And
nervous.
so, does it line up? Not completely. I will say a lot of things do, because there have been mistakes that my parents have made in adult decisions that I'm like, you know what? I don't want to have to go through that. So I'm going to stick with the advice that she's giving me and go on this path or do these things so that I can avoid going through that stressful situation.
So you learn through the experience of others because you
I
hadn't
have.
had to have that experience.
Right.
Great. So go with it because you diving out your seat to make it jump.
Well, first I need to address all the people that have answered since the last time you
Okay.
asked. Okay, so Akili Johnson said girls, transportation, school, and football is what he thought was important at 20. Your dad put don't waste daylight and stop and smell the flowers.
Wow.
And then Sam chimed in on the age of being in love part of the conversation. You are the only person that can determine if you love someone or are in love, but you can only truly determine that after much time, i.e. looking back years. And then Jasmine put sometimes that comes from an experience they've had that they're just not sharing with you. I believe she's talking about the protection part, like doing things out of protection.
talking about the
And then Sam and Chris put, yes, there are cultural differences. My teenage daughter was just complaining that we were quote unquote strict. I told her that she is only under that impression because many of her friends she compares us to are mostly of another culture. Quote, honey, we are not strict at all for black parents, unquote.
No doubt.
LOL. I also explained to her that growing up closely with black friends and their families, white friends and their families, and my Latina friends and their families, that there were very clear cultural differences in our families. I was explaining that very same thing you mentioned, Gracie, about my Latina friends' families' expectations. I noticed those cultural differences early on, not better or worse, just different. And then Jack Brown has put, I always try and explain to my kids that because of my life experiences and age, I know the answers to the questions they don't even have yet. I tell them they don't understand, but please trust me because I always have their best interest at heart.
Yeah, so it comes down to the way, keep going with 1 second. We're here with Ashley Munoz. She's nursing major at UTA, 20-year-old today, so she's still finding out about life. I want to comment on what Jack said. Shout out to Jack in Colorado. His son Dalton is a hell of a football player, and he's gonna. Dalton, I just make sure when you go to college, I need to get that ticket, baby, so I can come check you out. And Jack is a stand-up guy, and he's right. We do say you don't understand, you just don't know, and you don't understand, and you just don't know. But when you hear that, it doesn't sound like what he means. Right. Like, cause me hearing him say that, I kind of hear what you hear now. I know what he means, but it doesn't. All it sounds like to you is you young, you don't understand. You young, you don't know. You young, everything is prefaced with you young.
And I want to attach an actual feeling to that. It sounds like I lack something.
Lack intelligence, experience.
It sounds like I'm not enough.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
So do you let that pain make those decisions for you, or do you sidestep that and try to find the answer that you know is sitting right there inside of you? Because what I've learned is we tell you guys to do things without giving you the instruction manual on how to do it. Go get a job. Well, how do you do that? Go get good grades. Well, no, that's not how you get a job. You apply for the job, or you have friends at the job, or you build a quality relationship, or you have enough skill to complete the job. The grades have nothing to do with the job. But they want to protect you because good grades equals good opportunities. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people with good grades that don't know much about much. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's the disconnect in the communication is not necessarily the intent, it's just the etymology, the lacking of the understanding of the words. Go, Grace.
I think it's like when you talk to parents and you're talking to them about the example you always talk about, making it taboo.
Yep.
Like they tell you what not to do, mm-hmm. but they don't tell you the experience that leads you to say why not to do it. Mm. So then it's like
you gotta go find out why you couldn't do it.
I personally don't like to learn from those experiences because that's not personal to me. Mm-hmm. Like there's nothing tied to it. It's almost like, why do you not want me to do that? Mm-hmm. Why can't you just tell me why?
Right. And so question, we were missing understanding because the problem wasn't the answers. The problem was the ability to ask the question without being reprimanded. Like it was never a question opportunity. Don't do that because this is it. Boom.
And I hate to take it in a different way if I am, but I think that it also has to do a lot with the way an individual learns and an individual teaches. Mm-hmm. My mom learns a certain way, so she will teach the way she learns. I learn my own way, and I will receive that teaching a certain way because that's the way I learn. Mm-hmm. And so if you could teach the way I learn, maybe we wouldn't be having this wall. Or
you can learn another way to learn, because here's the situation. You have to draw from context. You see what I'm saying? And right now, you don't have enough to draw from because you don't have enough experience. So what you got to do is you have to apply the opportunity for experience. And what I mean by that is it ain't my job, unless I'm a teacher, to get you to get it. It's your job to get it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I disagree with that.
Okay, but you're not, again, and this is why, you your mama's baby.
Not you personally. I mean like my mom, whoever's teaching me, you know what I mean?
But you're not the world's baby. You see what I'm saying? Like The way you communicate at home, y'all got to figure that out. But outside of that, you got to figure out how to learn the way it's being taught. So take that lesson if you're going to take any other lesson. Like, I understand. Now you're getting understanding that when parents say, I'm doing this because I love you, they're doing it the best way they know how to do it to keep you from the worst thing ever. We always discount the bad things ever. It's always the worst thing that can happen. Don't do this, because if you end up blah, 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 it's going to be your fault. Well, I don't have no other options. So if I get told 55 things not to do, what can I do? Am I right about that? So go with it.
Right.
Let me ask you a question then.
Go ahead.
What is it that you want? What is the thing you're actually going for? That thing that was burning inside, that thing that you had to suppress, that thing, those direction you were going to not disappoint or to make, because I'd rather make a person proud than not disappoint. And those are two different things. Would you agree, Ms. P? Making a person proud versus not disappointing. You know, because a lot of times I was saying I would rather make a person proud than to worry about not disappointing them. Sure. And it sounds like you guys spent a lot of time trying to not disappoint, and that's what made them proud.
Right.
So, what do you want? What are you trying to get in this thing? What do you want to be in this thing we call life? Because you're grown now. The world don't care your mama's name. The world don't care your culture. The world cares what is the value and can I or can I not take advantage of you. That's the world. Period.
I would hate to sound too cliche, but, and I know that these words are defined differently by everybody, but genuinely, no matter what it is that I, eventually lead on to with life, I want to, at the end of it all, still be content with what decisions I made. I want to feel successful. Because being successful and feeling successful are two completely different things, in my opinion.
No, in fact, because trust me, I understand what you mean 100%.
Right, and I also want to hold a lot of knowledge.
How do you do that? How do you get knowledge?
Well, okay. And I don't know if I want to use the word wisdom.
Stop right there. Ask the question, Grace O. How do you get knowledge? Now, help me out. How do you get knowledge? What does define that?
Okay, so going back to what we were talking about teaching and learning, and you were saying, well, we should learn a different way to learn. The way I've gotten knowledge thus far is definitely from learning from others.
Okay.
And it's learning from experiences.
That makes sense.
And I do believe in something I think Bill Nye said. Every person you meet knows something you don't know.
Absolutely.
And so I guess knowledge, where I get it from other people.
Where do you hold knowledge, Grace O? What's the key to holding knowledge?
I'm not sure I understand how you're...
Well, like when she said she wanted to gain knowledge, how do you do that?
How do I do it?
Yeah, how do you go about that?
I'm a very trial and error type person.
Okay.
But I watch other people. I don't necessarily ask for a lot of advice.
Okay.
Not that I'm too prideful to do it. I just don't necessarily ask.
Okay. Miss P? No, good.
I like to add to her learning from other people's experiences based on learning a new way to learn, right? I guess I think differently. I said I disagreed with you earlier because in many teaching positions, I've found ways to teach people how to get the same message, because at the end of the day, the point is that the message gets sent or the message gets received. Not everyone's going to take it the same. So isn't learning how to teach it in someone else's language still a new way to learn for yourself? Like you're learning how to talk to people, learning how to communicate.
But that's only if you're a teacher. It ain't up to the world. I mean, the world don't care.
But that's like at jobs that.
But the world don't care. That's what I keep trying to tell. Like you. This is what I mean. We live on this God's great, big, beautiful green earth, right? We're all here. We're all a part of that.
I would say mostly blue.
Blue, green, you know. However, we all have our own world that we reside in.
Right.
And you're only important in your world and to the people who are in your world. So it's almost like if you're the director of this movie or this play, you get to decide what part you play, but the rest of the people in your world, those are the only people that actually matter. So it's not up to them to teach you, it's up to you to learn it. But I think we're missing the key to being a genius. Miss P, how do you gain knowledge? How do you gather knowledge? You specifically.
A lot of time, well, you know, reading helps.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a small part to me. But it's applying what I've experienced, it's applying what I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
and it's making change within me to overcome things that happen to make me better. But gaining knowledge comes from, it's many, many different areas.
You know what? I noticed that all three of you, and I'm drawing from just based on you guys telling me the influence in your head and it still leading your decisions and certain things being suppressed. You guys are discounting the number one way to be a genius, to gain knowledge, to get as much info as you can. Ask questions. You guys don't like asking questions because you've never been allowed to ask questions. Asking questions is, I'm an adult. I sit in conferences now and I raise my hand and everybody will go, oh man, this guy is, you know. Or if a teacher sees you ask, and don't lie, you raise your hand 5 times in a row and they're like, dang, somebody else. So they start looking past your hand. We're always, not always, that's an overarching statement. We are a lot of times discouraged from doing the thing that is going to elevate our opportunities in this world. We are really, because I said so, because I'm the mama, this is the way it is. Well, why are you asking me that? Well, won't you go look it up? You cannot educate yourself. You get educated and let the experiences teach you things. You can't educate yourself. People show you how to read and what letters are, and then you go decide to expand that information or that education. But expansion comes from, how does that thing work? You flip that lever right there. What does that mean right there? You know, because if you're reading, you're not understanding. Yes, sir.
Well, it sounds like what you're saying is people should become more intellectually curious.
Or should allow more people to be, the people closest to them to be inquisitive. The disconnect, in my opinion,
Right.
from this generation to our generation is because we took orders and went hard and fast. We still teach that way to try to avoid taking orders and going
You're
hard and
absolutely
fast.
right.
So help me understand.
You just made me think of kind of what it feels like. This is kind of what it feels like. Asking questions is not encouraged because what is encouraged is to understand.
You know why? Because the people that you ask usually don't have the answers. And it's very,
So do
very
they have the
troublesome.
understanding?
No, that's why they avoid it. Some people. So let me ask you this. Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you believe in the God you believe in? Why do you go to the church that you go to? Many people do it because it's traditionally what they did and their parents did it and they trust their parents, and then maybe their uncle was a preacher and they trust their uncle, but they have not heard any of the information, nor do they understand any of the words in the Bible,
Right.
or any of the words in the Quran, or any of the words in Webster's dictionary. However, if mama said, well, we serve a mysterious God, baby, and you just can't question God,
No.
you sit in the room and go, why can't you question God? Because if you can't question God, you can't question nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Abraham did.
and right.
He's about to kill his child. He
But
asked God,
he-
why me?
But he's in the Bible, and his mama didn't say he served a mysterious God. He had the opportunity to go, hey man, I don't know about this right here. What is this about? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because that brings clarity, but it also adds frustration. If you ask me questions and I don't have the answer, like go ask somebody else.
You know, the book that we all interpret differently says itself, asking you shall receive.
You have not because you ask not. So think about the things you don't have and start asking for them. So again, what do you want? What do you want is literally a question about you. I believe that in this, I believe as young people, the transition from being directed, guided, told, controlled, there are a bunch of different spectrums for a bunch of different people. But at 18, in the great United States of America, you instantly become an adult, meaning you can buy cigarettes, you can vote, you can do this, that, and the other. But your adulthood has to be nourished through questions, understanding, and experience. So how do we help you without enabling you for this world? Because ladies, you have yet to tell me what you want. How do we help you?
Okay. I would want for my experiences to still exist. Don't protect me from yes, I appreciate your protection, but don't necessarily bubble me away from getting the experience myself, but be a catalyst to my goals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is safe for you. You shouldn't do it. Get me off the path that I wanted to be on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is what you want to do. Well, let's see what it would look like.
Here are the
options.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is what you want to do. Let's explore what that actually looks like.
What if they don't know? You got to be fair. My folks didn't know about college scholarships, and like, what if they don't know? Like, what if they don't know? What if what they teach you is what they know, and those parts that they're teaching you works, and the parts they're keeping you from has caused pain to some?
Then I guess, and if you haven't already, I guess it gets to the point where you accept that you don't know, and you don't know with me, and you with me go to someone with answers, or you say, you know what, I don't have the answers, but I trust that you will eventually get to that.
Are you asking, or are you waiting for somebody to tell you? You ask, you have not because you ask not. Maybe you're asking the wrong person. Maybe you haven't asked questions enough times. Listen, we all want the same stuff. I want to see you guys grow and be awesome and have families and big houses and be of service to people. But how do we get to that? Well, the way we get to that is we find out actually what we want, and then start asking questions on how to get there, regardless of how uncomfortable it may seem or it may be. Regardless of the obstacles that will be in your way. So let me ask you a question, Ashley. When did you realize that the approach for absolute was hindering your progress? Like, it's got to be good enough, no matter how good good is. Because my good enough might be a C. Your good enough, it can't be less than an A minus. You see what I'm saying? When did you realize that the good enough wasn't necessarily your good enough? It was the expectation of others put on you for good enough. When did you realize it? Or am I just showing you that?
I think that's something that I learned this past year, 2019, 2020. And it was through this little earthquake of a major.
Mm-hmm.
I took a difficult class. This class made me reconsider how much I actually knew and what it is I actually wanted to know. And it made me question my abilities to know, to get that knowledge. Because clearly I didn't if I was doing so poorly, but I was only doing so poorly because in the spectrum that I was given before, that was considered poor.
Got it. So the scale was given to you. You didn't get a chance to set your own bar.
Exactly.
So now
so now I'm setting my own bar.
That's what I was going to ask. And it's kind of it makes you nervous, doesn't it?
Right.
So how do you get past the nerves? I just gave you the answer. Ask questions.
Yeah. You just do.
Yeah. Confidence comes from the things you go through and knowing, not knowing. And the only way you gain confidence is you go through those things to know. So I'm here with Ashley Munoz, and we've had great conversation from Miss P, and believe it or not, the super quiet, round-faced Mexican girl been all over the mic today on the ones and twos. So now, because you guys are still on the come up, you guys are now understanding the disconnect, and you're now hopefully starting to see that it's not everybody's job to teach you the way you learn. It's your job to explore the things that you're trying to get figured out. Would it be easier now, let me say a better word, less difficult to control the voices influencing your decisions so that you can feel good about your own decision? Or are you still trying not to disappoint?
I would think that it is easier to not disappoint, but I don't think it's gotten any easier to not hear the voices. Because I still feel like no matter what decision I make, I value those voices.
Absolutely.
I've given value to those voices.
Yes.
And so it isn't until I remove that value that maybe I can make a decision for myself. But do we ever, honestly?
Yes. Absolutely we do. And it's going to take you to 30s sometime, and you're going to make some terrible ones in the name of thinking they're good ones.
Okay, okay. So recently I made the decision to cut my hair, right? Because it was a religious thing. Girl, I don't cut my hair, right? Left mom's house, and I decided to cut my hair.
Right. That's a big decision, wasn't it?
That's a big decision.
Now, most people hear that and be like, that's a big decision you had to make, but that's tied to a feeling that's deeper than people want to admit. That's tied to a religious or a spiritual thought and connection. Continue.
Right. And so I guess when I say, when I question, do you ever really make a decision for yourself? There's always a comparable, like you said. And so whether it isn't just you made a decision, you made it without reason, you made it without no other previous understanding or influence. You made it thinking of all these things.
Correct.
Whether it's other people, other experiences, things of the past. You never make a decision just for
on a whim.
But you still made it. And that's the difference. Okay. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you had the wherewithal to consider all these things and go, you're not going to be right this time. I'm going to make the decision that makes the most sense. Now, we got to wrap up. We got about 3 minutes. I really want you guys to be very, do your best to answer this question. Okay? Leave us with this thought. As you go forward, okay, and you start moving into adulthood, what is the thing that us as elders or the generation that brought you here can do to help you be that amazing service giving member of society? How can we help you without enabling you?
I think that you kind of gave us the answer to that, and it is simply encourage the questions. Don't suppress them. But I think it's also you have to be able to distinguish when is it, the time, like it's the timing of. It's the timing. It's very much a tie of a whole bunch of things. Okay. It's the timing. It's encourage the questions. It's not what you say. It's how you say it. It's all like these things that we've heard that like as we get older, we learn, and these things make sense of like, this is how I feel. These words explain how I feel.
Got it.
And so you've experienced those things. You've gotten mad at your parents before. You've had the fights. You know what it feels to look at your parents and say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so understand that. Put yourself back into my shoes because you know what that feels like. And see me eye to eye.
Right.
Okay, you're right. It's not what I say, it's how I say it.
So as you have grown into adulthood, treat you like a grown-up.
Treat me like
without
a grown-up.
Giving you
without
the grown-up
forgetting
rhetoric.
the fact that you were once a child.
There it is. Grace-o.
I would say respect that I have a different opinion than you. Don't try to tell me why yours is better than mine, or that you don't like mine. Like, don't try to influence the thought that I'm having to fit what you consider to be best for me.
Got it.
Because you just may not know because you don't have an experience in what I'm trying to do or what I'm trying to learn or be around.
Got it. I have learned so much today. You guys are fantastic and amazing. We gotta go, Grace. So, but we'll continue to answer questions offline unless Kenny says otherwise. But I want to leave you guys with this. I think the best way we can help you guys and the best way we can help ourselves helping you guys is really simple and yet complex. We have to be able to live in the what was and what is, not what could be. There's so many bad things or good things that could be, but when you ask questions, we need to give you what was, based on our experience, what is, based on what we know, and then let you go figure out the rest, and then just believe you'll make the decision that makes the most sense. So, as adults, it is our job to pass things down. When you pass things up, you miss them. It is our job to pass the information down to these youngsters so we can stop complaining about them so they can take care of us when we get older. That is the end of today. You ladies have been fantastic. Miss P, it was so good to hear your voice, and we will see you next Monday.